Hi, everyone. My name is Ben McDonald, and welcome to my JMC 105 presentation on my chosen media choice of magazines. So, yeah, let's dive right into it. Race, politics, and the power of magazines, how imagery, how media and imagery has shaped public perception. So, my first slide is why magazines matter. Magazines shape public opinions through storytelling and imagery rather than facts. Magazine covers often reinforce dominant culture and political views. Racist and political biases are subtly and blatantly embedded and used in magazine media. Visuals have the power to influence how people perceive crime, leadership, and morality. Through strategic use of images, headlines, and article formats, magazines can frame individuals and events in ways that either reinforce stereotypes or challenge societal norms. Within magazine culture over the years, we've often seen the first option of this, where magazines often reinforce stereotypes. So one of the examples I have here in my first slide is in the top right hand corner of LeBron James in a Vogue magazine cover, where this cover received a lot of backlash as it was portrayed that LeBron James was portraying a more King Kong like role. And this was one of the first big backlashes within the 21st century with magazine covers. And since then, it has somewhat marked a more landmark change to how we perceive magazine covers and what are the ethical yeses and nos when going about creating a magazine cover. So next is my case study. So my case study was Time Magazine's O.J. Simpson cover in the early 1990s. Time Magazine darkened O.J. Simpson's mugshot after his famous criminal trial was underway. A fellow news source at the time called Newsweek also published O.J.'s mugshot, where the image was considerably lighter, showing Time edited O.J.'s mugshot. This sparked nationwide outrage over racial bias and media ethics. This is a prime example of how magazines can influence stories about race and crime without using words. This instance demonstrated how media sources may subtly and effectively criminalize Black and people of color to sway public opinion during controversial and heated political moments in time. Next is media and racial biases. So, media outlets often amplify racial stereotypes through selective imagery and storytelling. As an example, in my last slide, O.J. Simpson would be a perfect example. Black and people of color individuals are frequently associated with crime and danger in magazine covers and headlines. White individuals are often portrayed more sympathetically or as quote unquote complex characters. These media practices not only reflect the existing prejudices but actively shape public fears, political opinions, and criminal justice attitudes. The example that I have within this slide is from Nat Geo in 2018, where they published a magazine cover about a white man in the Wild West, quote unquote, with one of the headlines being "Whose land is it?" Referring to an age-long debate between settlers and indigenous peoples. After receiving lots of backlash from this, Nat Geo ultimately ended up taking this cover down and having a pledge to be more ethical in its covers going forward. Only to 8 months later, have a cover of an indigenous man in full regalia outside a political state building in Utah, where he is seen yelling and screaming. This caused even more backlash and controversy, as the man was portrayed to be as exotic, less than human, and quote unquote savage. Finally, for my last slide, broader themes in magazines and my ultimate conclusion. So, magazines have historically reinforced racial and political hierarchies. Black, indigenous people, people of color are often framed as either threats or victims, no matter the situation. White figures are portrayed as leaders, pioneers, or heroes, as portrayed in my last slide as an example of the white man in the Wild West. And a lack of diverse voices in publishing leads to one-sided narratives within our media outlets and within our communities. So as magazines become more obsolete in the modern age, that still doesn't mean they're not important. So going forward, It's crucial that we speak out against any magazine covers that may not be ethically sourced or ethically correct, and we focus on portraying and putting out the right information when it comes to magazine covers. So I picked two from the New Yorker and Vogue that I found were especially powerful. And I think this should be the bread and butter for all magazine companies going forward on how to portray, especially black and brown people during controversial times and heated political moments. So that was my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, thank you so much. Bye bye.